Next week on Emmerdale, there's a twist that feels both confusing and haunting. Bear is charged with manslaughter, yet he's determined to plead guilty. It begins with his police interview. Bear admits he was responsible for Ray's death, but insists it was an accident and that he was alone. The problem is his memory is patchy, and one small slip of the tongue gives DS Walsh an opening to press harder. Was someone else really there? When the focus shifts to Moira, DS Walsh becomes even more interested, especially after learning that Cain pressured Bear to tell police he never saw Moira at Celia's farm. The more I look at it, the more it feels like Bear is trying to carry the heaviest burden himself, like an older man choosing to take the fall just to end the ordeal quickly, even if it isn't entirely fair to him. Meanwhile, Paddy completely unravels. Marlon rushes to the station to support him, and the emotional weight here is intense. Paddy feels helpless and blames himself, terrified that Bear, Dylan, and even he could all end up in prison. Marlon tries to ground him with a simple but powerful point. If it was self-defense, the truth will come out. Don't lose hope yet. But the next day only makes things worse. Paddy keeps interrupting during Bear's questioning, muddling the story further and making it look suspicious. DS Walsh begins to wonder if Paddy is more involved than he claims, especially since she doubts Bear could have moved the body alone. Then DC Chen arrives and requests that both Paddy and Dylan come in for questioning the following morning. That's the moment everything shifts. Going from worried family member to potential suspect can happen in just a few wrong words. Then comes the formal charge: manslaughter. Bear's solicitor tries to reassure the family, emphasizing that Bear may have acted in self-defense and could still apply for bail. Everyone wants him to think strategically about his plea. But Bear chooses the opposite path. He insists on pleading guilty because he believes it's the honorable thing to do. Honestly, this part hurts. Sometimes trauma pushes people into a place where they stop fighting for their own survival and just want the guilt to end. But pleading guilty isn't always noble. Sometimes it's self-punishment, and the cost could be devastating. At the same time, Cain is clinging to hope that Bear's confession might help prove Moira's innocence. He visits her, planning to share something deeply personal, his cancer diagnosis, but a prison fight interrupts them before he can say it. Instead, he tells Moira about Bear admitting responsibility for Ray's death, hoping it could lead to her release. But Moira senses there's more beneath the surface. When she learns Cain pressured Bear and notices how different he seems, she urges him to reveal what he's hiding. I really like this detail. It shows Moira isn't just passively waiting to be saved. She sees Cain spiraling and wants to pull him back before everything collapses. If Cain keeps bottling things up and trying to handle it alone, I honestly think he'll push away the very people he's trying to protect. Unspoken despair often turns into anger, and that anger isolates you. Back at home, Cain explodes when he finds Joe sitting comfortably on his sofa. He tries to throw him out violently, but Maddie steps in, admitting he let Joe in and reminding Cain of what really matters. Instead of fighting the entire world, he should focus on standing by Moira. Joe later returns to Home Farm and assures Kim that Butler's farm will eventually be theirs, a clear sign he's still playing a long game. In another storyline, Ruby can no longer handle the guilt of being the one who reported Anya's body to the police, so she confesses to Cain. Cain lashes out, accusing Ruby and Caleb of throwing Moira under the bus and only offering legal help out of guilt. Sarah even steps in, urging Cain to stop pushing away the people who care about him. Right now, Cain feels like someone drowning. Every hand reaching out to help gets slapped away, even though it's exactly what he needs. The Laurel and Arthur storyline is just as tense. Laurel catches Arthur searching for his passport after quitting his job and questions how he plans to afford moving to Australia. Already feeling guilty for the upheaval in her son's life, she's furious when she discovers a large amount of cash and the drugs she thought she'd disposed of. Arthur admits he kept the money and drugs from Ray's bag, and even threatens to tell people Laurel hit him if she doesn't let him use the money to leave. It's frightening in a very real way. When a young person is pulled into wrongdoing, they can weaponize cracks in their own family. Arthur later apologizes and begs to use the money to travel, But Laurel hesitates after overhearing Marlon and Rona discussing their massive debt. Should she hand over dirty money to keep peace with her son, or use it to help others and risk legal trouble herself? Either choice feels dangerous, and I think this decision could trigger serious ripple effects. Amid all the heavy drama, Mandy returns to the village expecting a triumphant homecoming, only to be shocked by the heavy police presence. Because Paddy kept her in the dark, she's confused and shaken, and when Paddy is taken in by the police, Dylan and Marlon have to explain everything. Over at Home Farm, Dawn drops another bombshell. She tells Joe she might be pregnant. But with Joe wrapped up in his own strategic maneuvering, how will he truly react to the possibility of becoming a father? On a lighter note, Ross and Cammy notice sparks between Vinny and Lewis and decide to play matchmaker. And then there's the mysterious DeLorean parked outside the shop, drawing attention from Vinny, Cammy, and Manpreet, only to disappear shortly after. A small detail, but one that's sure to spark speculation. My prediction for next week? Bear may eventually realize that pleading guilty won't just destroy his own future, but could drag Paddy and Dylan down with him. If Cain refuses to open up about what he's hiding, he risks alienating everyone right when Moira needs him most. And Laurel is standing at a crossroads that could cost her either her son or her moral footing. This week isn't just about who caused Ray's death, it's about guilt, honor, and the price of silence. What do you think? Should Bear plead guilty to bring everything to an end, or fight on the grounds of self-defense? Is Cain going too far trying to save Moira at the expense of himself? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read and respond. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next in-depth breakdown.